Beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Hey, good morning to you. I'm Jeremy. Thanks for joining me for today's edition of the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update. Let's get right to it. News and comment. The continuing legal struggles between Daryl Hall and John Oates continue. Daryl Hall, we talked about this earlier. He's filed a lawsuit against John Oates. Oates was trying to sell off his half of the royalties or the rights to a company called Primary Wave. And this is a thing. This is a thing that's going on. A lot of typically aging musicians are selling off the rights to their music now. It's kind of like a reverse mortgage type deal. I don't know if that's the right comparison, but with intellectual properties, with copyrights, with royalties, these are ongoing sources of income for these artists. And so what these artists are doing is there are certain companies that specialize in buying these rights. So what they'll do is they'll go to a Neil Young or a Fleetwood Mac or whatever and say, hey, how about if we just pay you? We're going to write you a check for you to turn over your future royalties for your catalog. So it makes a kind of sense, right? If I'm no longer active, and I guess it doesn't matter whether or not you're active in music or not, but you can say, hey, I'm 70 years old. I could use this money now, right? So they'll give them a few $1 million or whatever it is. And then this company moving forward owns the rights to license that music or whatever to be used in ad campaigns or obviously any of the money that the artist would be receiving for royalties will now go to this company. So many artists say, I'll take the money now and then you guys will own it in perpetuity, right? So John Oates was trying to do this. The problem is John Oates and Daryl Hall are a partnership. And so Daryl Hall says he felt like he was blindsided. Here's the quote. The singer claimed his bandmate was trying to ambush and distract him in an attempt to intentionally cause me the maximum amount of harm. He says, I have no intention of becoming partners with Primary Wave, and Oates cannot be permitted to thrust a new partner upon me in this outrageous fashion, the singer wrote. So apparently seems to be some bad blood in all this. So that came out yesterday. Well, John Oates today, he's responded to Daryl Hall's recent allegations against him in a sealed lawsuit. He says, quote, I am disappointed that he decided to publicize issues that are the subject of our private mediation and private arbitration. I have no idea who or what is motivating Daryl to take these steps and make such salacious statements, but I am deeply hurt. I can't go for that. No can do. So we'll see how that plays out. Kiss, man, we've been talking a lot about Kiss because rightly so, the hottest band in the land is about to hang it up. December 1st and December 2nd are their last shows of the End of the Road tour. Guys, do you realize the End of the Road tour started almost 5 years ago? That's a long and winding road, right? Is it 5 years? That's a long time. COVID was in there, so that kind of slowed things down a bit. But man, they've been talking about this End of the Road for the longest time. And sometimes you just want the road to end. Well, this is going to be the end, or is it? We've talked about this. We're going to talk more about it. It's not going away. It's the dirty little secret. It's the elephant in the room. Kiss ain't going anywhere. Okay. Gene and Paul, they'll quit playing. And there's even more. I've been talking about this forever. Well, not forever, but I've been talking about it for a while. Kiss will continue to exist. There will be a Kiss tour without Gene and Paul. Mark my word, give it a year or two. And I don't know, maybe Tommy and Eric will continue to do it. They could have a completely new batch of younger musicians that are doing it. It will continue to go on. Listen to this quote. Kiss is like an army or a sports team. When the MVP is no longer playing or retired, the team doesn't call it quits. On a battlefield, an army, when they lose soldiers, doesn't wave the white flag. Somebody else picks up the weapon and runs forward. So in one form or another, I believe there will always be a Kiss. And he cites examples like Foreigner, right? Foreigner currently touring, no original members. Lynyrd Skynyrd, basically no original. I mean, Medlock's in there, and he has a part in their early history, but really no original members. This is controversial, right? We've talked about the Guess Who. The Guess Who touring now with the fat drummer who at one point was in I got nothing against fat drummers, okay? But the fat drummer who was in Guess Who, now touring with a whole new slew of musicians. And of course, Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman are suing them because they don't want them to call themselves it's a whole, guys, it's been going on for years. At one point there were like 3 different bands called the Coasters touring. It happens, right? So Kiss, being the legal business entity that they are, the brand that they are, you can bet your bottom dollar, emphasis on dollar, that Kiss will continue to tour. There will always be a Kiss tour going on. That's my prediction. Gene and Paul, they won't be doing it. They'll just be sitting back, counting their money as this tour goes. And of course, they still will be getting most of the money. So we'll see what's going on. Kiss will continue in ways that even I haven't thought of, Simmons said, but I can conceive of, the Blue Man Group and Phantom of the Opera tour around the world with different personnel. There could and should be a Kiss show, kind of live on stage with effects and everything else, but also a semi-autobiographical thing about 4 knuckleheads off the streets of New York that ends with the last third as a full-blown celebration, a full-on performance. There have been Broadway shows about Tina Turner, about the Four Seasons. I think about the Coasters too. So maybe there could be like a Broadway show about Kiss. But there will be as long as we can foresee, there will be a Kiss tour. That's what's happening. Interesting. Alex Lifeson of Rush, who's a gear nerd, one of my favorite guitar players. He's in my personal top 5. Very underrated, phenomenal guitarist, genius. No one plays like Alex Lifeson, right? You listen to a solo, even like the Limelight solo. Where'd that come from? No one plays, none of the pentatonic cliche. I mean, he's a completely original. No one plays like Alex Lifeson. He's awesome. He's announced the launch of Lurkst, a new family of amplifiers inspired by the Rush guitarist's 5 decades of musical exploration on the guitar, while also offering modern players a versatile tonal platform upon which to build their own sonic identity. How about that? Lurkst. Lurkst is a nickname that Alex picked up because apparently sometime someone pronounced his name Allerkst. I don't know why you'd pronounce it that way, but it kind of stuck and people just started calling him Lurkst. So he's known as Lurkst, Lerxst. So this new line of amps will be called Lurkst. So if you're a guitar nerd, you'll want to check it out. I'm sure they won't be cheap, but check it out. Love Alex Lifeson. He says, quote, "I'm very excited about the new updated Omega amp. It sounds incredible and it's very awesome. You'll want to get one even if you don't play guitar." There you go. Nice. Let's talk about Bad Company. And really, I want to talk about Bad Company because it gives me a chance to talk about one of the stupidest organizations, institutions in the history of music, and that would be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. During an appearance on the Bob Lefsetz podcast, Bad Company and Free drummer Simon Kirke was asked how he feels about Bad Company not having been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But Green Day has. Nina Simone has. Nina Simone and Tom Waits are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Bad Company is not. That's all you need to know. All you need to know. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is officially an enormous steaming pile of poop, rivaled only by Rolling Stone magazine for idiotic music institutions. But I could be nitpicking. Simon Kirke says, quote, "I think it's such a travesty, quite honestly. And not just that, but Free," he talks about Free certainly should be in the hall because Free has been around since 1968, and the two bands have been responsible for influencing a lot of bands who are already in the hall. So I feel pretty bad about it. But I'm not going to go on too much about it. It's just I think we should be in. Certainly Free, and I think Bad Company. He says certainly Free, and I think Paul Rodgers should be in on his own merits as one of the great rock vocalists of all time. If Eric Clapton and Rod Stewart and Jeff Beck can be inducted as solo artists, then certainly Paul Rodgers should be in there. That's my 2 cents. He does say this about, and if you remember, we kind of cut the steaming pile of poop some slack when we talked about Bad Company, I don't know, a month or so back, when Paul Rodgers said he was asked in the early days if he wanted to be in the hall, and he said no, because he said, I don't think rock and roll belongs in a museum. That's kind of irrelevant because it was new. I mean, it doesn't, that's stupid. I mean, I don't think that should keep them from, they should have been in there 30 years ago, right? But Simon does say, I think because of Bad Company's changing lineups over the 50 years that we've been together, it kind of devalued our currency a little bit. He said you had the Brian Howe era, you had the Paul Rodgers era, 1 and 2. Then Paul rejoined the band. We had Robert Hart. So I honestly don't know why we have not been nominated, but we have not been nominated, not even inducted. You have to be nominated first, as you know. Yeah. It starts with the nomination. You get nominated first. And then you get into, but they haven't even been nominated. That is stupid. And of course, we know the list. We know the list of band. Okay, Styx, Kansas, Foreigner, Boston. I mean, you can quibble whether or not you like these bands, but if Nina Simone and Tom Waits and Green Day and Missy Elliott are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Styx, Foreigner, Kansas, Boston, Bad Company aren't. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I need medication. It's ridiculous. I need to talk about an album because now I'm all stressed out talking about the stupid Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, complete pile of poop. Do I sound angry? Do I sound bitter? Well, you know what I need? I need to listen to Brian May and Friends, Starfleet Project. I like the idea of this album much better than the actual album. I got to be honest. I mean, we've known each other long enough. I can't lie. I mean, I got to be honest. I mean, what's not to like about this Inframan type cover? So apparently, well, let me read this to you. Let me read the back. This, if you aren't familiar with Brian May and Friends, this is a pretty collectible. Among the right circle of nerds, this is very collectible. If you're interested in purchasing this, let me know. Okay, Brian May and Friends features Brian May, Edward Van Halen, Alan Gratzer, who was the drummer from REO Speedwagon, Phil Chin, who's a bassist, and Fred Mandel. Let me just read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me read from the back here. Stop. What you have just picked up is not your normal kind of album. Not an album which has been thoughtfully pieced together by a coordinated band as a balanced and polished listening experience. Not a Queen album. Not a solo Brian May album. It's a record of a unique event. On the 21st and 22nd of April 1983, 5 musicians from different backgrounds who had previously known each other only as friends played together for the first time, purely for fun. In listening to this record, I hope you will share the excitement we felt. And they are doing a theme to a Starfleet is the theme tune for a superb TV sci-fi series broadcast in England for kids of all ages. So it's one of these Japanese-made shows that they dubbed into English, and Brian May was playing the theme song for it, and he brought in Eddie, and I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's cool from a collectible standpoint, but to actually listen to it, I mean, you can tell they just kind of got in there. It's rough. It's rough. It's kind of cool for that standpoint, but it's not a great album other than the kitsch factor, right? But still kind of cool to have. If you want to buy it from me, classicguitarrock@mail.com, classicguitarrock@mail.com. I mean, I don't usually try and huck things on the daily podcast, but everything's for sale. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all your help. Remember, you can be a sponsor on our X page for just $1 a month. We'll do it again tomorrow. Live long and prosper. Take care. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just waiting for it to turn off. See ya.